My name is Vicki and I come from Calaveras County. In the early 1970s, I had 2 abortions. At that time, it was only legal in California and New York. I lived in Massachusetts, so I went to New York. It was a very long time ago, but sometimes it feels like yesterday. Some things about the abortions I will never forget. I was pregnant both times by the same man. He did not want to get married. If my parents found out that I was sexually active, let alone pregnant, they'd die. These were enough reasons for me to choose abortion. My boyfriend went with me for the first one. The second one he did not know about. I remember the procedure itself and feeling very removed from my body when it was being done. I remember nothing after the first one, but after the second one, I remember trying to console another woman who was crying there. I stayed in a hotel in New York City that night and called the front desk to ask them to please come and check the heat because I was freezing and I could not get warm. Chills were passing through me like a knife. They came and checked the heater and they said, "Nothing's wrong, lady, it's 80 degrees in here." That sensation of being chilled like that has returned to me many times over the years. The next day on the bus going home, I felt a huge emptiness inside and cried out to the God that I knew about as a child, "Never let me ever do this again." I got pregnant again by the same man. It sounds crazy, but I kept wanting to put those babies back in my womb. When I found out I was pregnant again, I was desperate. I went to church. They had a guest speaker that day, and she talked about adoption. God had answered my cry to not have to do abortion again. He'd given me an alternative. This time I moved to California and my son was adopted here in San Francisco. For years, I struggled to make something of my life. I married a man I met in group therapy. We were both mourning the loss of a child, him to a divorce and myself to the adoption. I did not recognize the abortions as losses. I had another son and my stepson came to live with us. I was still not happy and I did not know what was wrong. I thought it was about the adoption, but an astute pregnancy center counselor said it was more likely about the abortions. I did not want to go there. I worked and worked to be the perfect wife, mother, and stepmother. I fought depression and thoughts of suicide while at the same time constantly overachieving at my work. I was still miserable and my children and my husband knew what people saw on the outside was not who I was. By now I had become a believer and I was in church, but there was still this deep, dark secret. I took the training to become a pregnancy center volunteer. I was told that I would have to go through a post-abortion Bible study before I could counsel. I thank God they made that rule, and I think they made it when they saw me coming. Finally, through this Bible study, I began to see how the abortions had affected me. I let myself feel the incredible grief I had for the babies that I lost, that I aborted. I saw how my relationships with my husband and my children were marred because I could not get close to anyone. I could only punish myself for what I had done. I saw how the anger I had at myself was being taken out on my husband and my children. I began to heal, and the truth that Jesus had paid the price for me with his blood began to be real to me. I did the study a second time a few years later and accepted his complete forgiveness and restoration.
Amen.
I knew then, as I know now, that my babies are in heaven with Jesus, and I will see them there someday. My mother is having that joy now. We talk about the shock waves. Eventually, I did tell my parents about my abortions and my birth son. When she was 94, my mother never forgot any of those children. When she was 94 years old and in a nursing home, she told me she had a dream that the two Irish ladies in the room next to her were taking care of all the aborted babies. I was able to share with her that she would meet them in heaven before I would, and to love them for me. We held hands and wept over the loss that we both felt so intensely. Now, usually when I do this, at this point I say, I never get that chilled feeling anymore, even standing up here in front of all of you. But I do have to tell you that I work in a pregnancy help center, volunteer pregnancy help center, and last week I did have that chilled feeling. But what I found out was a client whose mother I was counseling, who had had an abortion 40 years ago and never dealt with it and is in terrible pain. Her daughter had taken the first pill to perform a medical abortion. And I gave the mom all the information about how to reverse that because of what I learned here a few years ago. And the mom brought it to her daughter, but her daughter didn't want to change her mind, and she took the second pill. And I called the woman, the mom, and just told her, left a message that I was concerned and praying for them. And a little while later, she called me back, and exactly at the point that I'd started to have that really chilled feeling again, and wondered why this was coming back, was when her daughter had taken that second pill, and that baby was being aborted. So I feel like God's given me a new ministry. So when I feel chilled, hopefully, not hopefully. When I get that chilled feeling, I will pray. I will pray. I will know that that's what God is asking me to do. I thought for so long that I should never have been born. But now I know His purpose for me is to lead other women in healing Bible study. And that mom is going to come and go through a healing Bible study with me. I have met and know so many women and men like myself who struggled for years and did not know why. And that is why I will be silent no more.